Hey folks, how's it going? Today, we're talking about a movie that the internet thought was totally fake. But guess what? It's real. Very real. And the movie I'm referring to is Spermageddon. That's right, this Carl Weezer-looking sperm is an actual character from an actual movie.
Any questions?
Yes. Are you going to finish that croissant?
Initially, people saw the poster for Spermageddon and dismissed it as some AI-generated satire. You know what I'm talking about? You got those AI movie posters that dunk on Disney and Pixar films? Yeah, you know the ones. And folks thought that was the case with Spermageddon. But surprise, it's an actual movie. Want to know what's even wilder? It's very good. Well, to me it is. My girlfriend tried to watch this movie with me, and there was a scene in particular where she had to cover her eyes due to how graphic it was. Yeah, we're gonna blur that. On top of that, this movie is a bona fide musical. I guess it's more Disney-like than I realized.
A whole new...
Just don't take the kids to watch this one because it is very adult, if you couldn't tell by the name of the film. By the way, spoilers ahead, though I'm going to try and keep them to a minimum. That being said, there are some genuine and thought-provoking themes in this film that really caught me off guard, with one in particular that kind of recontextualizes the entire film as a whole.
You gotta pay the troll toll. If you want to get into that boy's hole, you gotta pay the troll toll to get in.
Not that hole. But yeah, I want you all to support this movie when it comes out. I know the majority of my viewers are Americans, so we gotta wait and see when the film is gonna be released over here. But for folks in Europe, especially Norway, I'm pretty sure y'all can go check it out in theaters right now. Go get your sperm on. Why did I say that? Oh, it's the breeding joke all over again.
What do you mean?
I'll never live that down.
What do you mean?
Also, a big shout out to the folks behind Spermageddon. I really appreciate the early screener. Also, what the hell were y'all thinking? Why'd you give me this power? And needless to say, the people who worked on this film made something truly unique, and I am honored to review it. On that note, let's, should I make a pun? No, probably not. Let's jump into Spermageddon.
Oh my God.
You know what, jumping into it, that wasn't much better. But real quick, a big shout out to my patrons on Patreon. I feel like there's a very real chance that this video might get sent to the Shadow Realm by YouTube, and if so, you can catch the full video up on my Patreon. We got some cool perks on Patreon too, like access to my Discord server and getting your names listed in the credits of uploads. And said support goes to paying my team and our efforts to continue to make more videos like a Spermageddon review, because that's our life.
This is my kingdom come. This is my kingdom come.
But wait, this video about talking sperm is brought to you by Fume, the leader in flavored air. Another day, another room party. There's nobody partying with me. I'm telling you, I feel like I end up at these calm parties every month. And along with these parties are very bad habits. Just all of them, they surround me. Boy howdy, is it difficult to not want to partake. We're all human after all, and we all take comfort in mimicking each other's behavior. It's true actually, it's called mimicry psychology. Turns out, quitting isn't the solution in these scenarios. All that's needed is a proper replacement. That is where Fume comes into play, the new movement towards better habits. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that contains no vapor, no smoke, no nicotine, and does not need to charge. Using it is as simple as pulling air into your mouth and not your lungs. It's a fraction of the cost of vaping or smoking, so you can save money while ditching a bad habit. Now, I've been enjoying the variety of flavors such as cinnamon hearts and spearmint ice. And Fume is built to fidget with, sporting a premium weighted design. It looks great, it feels awesome in your hands, and you can mess around with its magnetic snaps. Clickety-clack right down the track. And Fume is continuously investing in studies that ensure the safety of their products, ensuring that Fume is a safe product for all to enjoy. Did you get a Fume product recently? Show me. Post in the comments. I want to know about your unboxing experience. Tell me! I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scream. Fume has already helped over 300,000 people kick their bad habits to the curb. So give Fume a shot today by heading on over to tryfume.com/saberspark and use my code SABERSPARK when you order a journey pack. You'll get a neat topper that's especially great for those of us with oral fixations. I got a little rubber thingy on mine, that's what it is. I can chew on it. Again, that's tryfume.com/saberspark or hit up the QR code on the screen. Thanks again to Fume for sponsoring our video, and now back to the video. Now, before we get into the movie itself, who are the insane people behind this film? Well, a big shout out to the good people of Norway, as this is a Nordic production. Your Viking ancestors would be proud, and I mean that. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna try and say their names. Ready? The directors include Rasmus Alsirvitsen and Tommy Vakola. Tommy here actually worked on that Violent Night movie, which, hey, that was pretty fun. According to my sources, there are two main studios behind Spermageddon: 74 Entertainment and Kiesven Animation. I am trying so hard to not butcher this beautiful language, but it's a hard one to do. Both studios are big players in the Scandinavian scene, with Kiesven being the biggest in the region. I actually checked out their YouTube, and yeah, they've tackled all kinds of different projects. Commercials, movies, music videos, even stuff for theme parks. As far as vibes go for Spermageddon, it's like a crossover between Sausage Party, Inside Out, Osmosis Jones, and get this, Lord of the Rings. AKA, what we have here, folks, is the single greatest movie ever made. Spermageddon was first released at Annecy on June 10th, 2024, but made its Nordic debut on February 28th, 2025. At the moment, the film has made around like $300,000, but cost around $3 million to make. Though I am confident it will make that amount back once it is internationally available. As far as critics go, they've compared the humor of Spermageddon as being similar to Sausage Party, which, yeah, I can see it. Not like a tit for tat, but they kind of channel that same crassness to a degree. If anything, it's possible that it was deliberate. Tommy Verkola, one of the directors and writers for the movie, said, quote, "It's an animated feature in the vein of South Park, or the Danish animated movie Checkered Ninja, targeting elder kids and adults. It's fantastic to finally be able to tell this glorious story of magnificent scope, all set in the world of the minuscule. The original origin story, you might say." End quote. Oh, and I got to ask some questions to the team behind Spermageddon directly. Which, by the way, thank you if they're watching this video. First off, I asked, given the subject matter of this movie, were there any issues finding a distributor for releasing it theatrically? What about internationally outside of Norway? And they said, quote, "No issues. Distributor in the Nordics is FS Studios, and they jumped on board after reading the script. In fact, they have been supporting the subject matter in the film. We have pre-sold it to many territories. We have met little pushback. The US market has been the most difficult, but we're still working on it." End quote. Yeah, I can see that. Americans are, at least theatrically, this will be a hard sell. Hopefully, it can be available on Amazon Prime or just, ordering it on demand or something. Hey, Netflix, you want to pick it up? Come on. The pun, come on. Yeah. I also asked, what was the most challenging aspect of the production design to nail down? And they said, quote, "Finding the form and look of the sperms, and what degree they were supposed to be cute and not just raunchy." End quote. Personally, I feel that they did a good job, but there are moments where the sperms use their little tail things, like a hand. I'm just like, ugh, yeah, get that away from me. And finally, I asked, how long was the process of development from start to finish? Were there any major hiccups along the way? Funding, finalizing the script, music, etc. And they said, quote, "In all films, there are hiccups, and this as well. And for most part, it was a financing thing. But that is normal, so I can't really highlight this in any way. Development took about 5 years from the idea when it was first pitched until the different stages of script and a rough animatic of the film." End quote. All in all, I applaud the team behind Spermageddon for seeing this film from start to finish. Or should I say, complete. Alright, so what's the movie about? Again, I'm going to keep this short so y'all can get the chance to support the official release once it's available. Consider this me gassing and hyping up the movie in the meanwhile. I mean, how can I even begin to accurately describe a sperm version of Iron Man who shreds on the guitar? I just simply can't. It's not possible. And yes, that's in the movie. So, let's talk about the plot, because there's actually two parallel stories going on in this movie. One half of the story takes place in the body of a teenage boy named Jens. He's a nerdy guy who loves sci-fi movies, but doesn't get a ton of attention from the ladies. Maybe his cousin Linguini from Ratatouille can give him a few pointers. I mean, they look the exact same. The sperm living inside his body are desperate to leave, eagerly awaiting the great Spermageddon alert, wherein he'll finally do the deed and send them to accomplish every sperm's greatest dream: fertilize an egg. At least that's the dream of everyone but Simon, a homebody sperm who does not like going out of his comfort zone. He's bullied for it, but still has a close friendship with, ready for this one? Camilla. It's spelled exactly the way you think it would. Now, Camilla is one of the more ambitious female sperm at Skriniversity. Oh yeah, did I mention that this movie is a musical? I did mention it, but I'm going to remind you, because this film's got a handful of wild musical numbers. Simon and Camilla both have their own sections during the film's I Want song, and it's called In the Ballsack. This video gonna get past YouTube censors. Simon thinks it's a waste to leave, because they're much more likely to die outside Yen's balls. But Camilla has a thirst for adventure and wants to take her chance at being the sperm to fertilize the egg. But being the one to make it all the way to the finish line is a tough race. They have some serious competition in the form of Gizmo.
You what?
A powerful and well-connected sperm with roid rage. And it's obviously been mewing. Look at that face. Look at that Giga Chad face. You're the virgin sperm, I'm the Chad sperm.
Holy moly.
Gizmo has been developing something to make sure he's the first one to reach the egg. He somehow made a high-tech mech suit with a ton of weapons that looks incredibly similar to Iron Man. He will stop at nothing to be the one to make it, even murdering other sperm in the process. And by the way, I knew this film was gonna be sexual. My God, is it violent. There are some very violent scenes in this movie to like a comedic degree. I think that was the point. Meanwhile, Jens meets up with some of his friends at a cabin in the countryside. One of them is a girl named Lisa, his crush from the previous summer, who is just as dorky as he is. But both of their hormones are going haywire and wild and crazy as Jens and Lisa decide to lose their V-cards together. It is about as awkward as you can imagine.
Can I put my balls in your jaw? Your jaw.
They struggle talking dirty because it's obviously their first time doing anything risque. And yeah, they're really bad at it. They're like quoting Pornhub for inspiration. It's that bad.
What did he say?
But it's oddly endearing and makes them weirdly likable. But their constant porking is making Yen's body go into overdrive.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
About to bust? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was the bathroom. Oh, good.
After several hookups and torn condoms, the whole cast eventually ends up in Lisa's body. However, due to some bad directions, let's call it that, from Jens, Simon and Camilla end up taking the back door into Lisa. There, they meet E. coli, who loves eating poop. Yep, he sings about it too. Now the race is on for who can be the first one to reach the egg, with Gizmo killing off most of the competition and Lisa's body. Meanwhile, Simon and Camilla have to make their way from the stomach to the urinary tract and eventually into Lisa's other portion of her body. It is incredibly silly and logically makes no sense, but neither does talking sperm, so who cares, right? It's like the film says, yeah, we're dumb, just roll with it, and I can respect that. At this point, I will throw out an additional spoiler warning, because how the movie ends is a big reason why I love it so much. I can't really provide context unless I'm transparent about it. You got your warning, yeah, we're good? Let's go. A beehive falls on... A beehive falls on Jens. But more importantly, Gizmo is defeated, and Simon and Camilla both declare their love for each other and venture into the egg together. Guess what happens 6 weeks later? Yep. However, the movie goes in a direction that was surprising to me. You'll see. Jens and Lisa go to a clinic together to get an abortion pill from a nurse. The nurse asks them some general questions about work, living situations, finances, and school, with both of them expressing how unprepared they are to be parents. That even though they use protections, and I say that plural because they used everything in the book and then some, accidents can happen. But that they have their whole lives ahead of them to plan for a family if that's what they want. And this point is really driven home through, you guessed it, song.
What's going on in there? What?
The other adults from the movie start to chime in about their own experiences. Yen's mom had an abortion when she was younger because she was not ready to be a mom. Yen's dad impregnated a stewardess in 2010. These things happen. I like how stark this is in contrast to an American movie like Juno, and the weird teen pregnancy trend that sparked from that for some reason. The 2000s were weird. Also, I really appreciate that Jens is not a weird sex pest or irresponsible. He's kind of a klutz, kind of dumb, but ultimately, he's responsible and supportive of Lisa by respecting her bodily autonomy. They genuinely have a lot of fun chemistry together. And like many, many teens, they both rush into something without thinking. Well, to be fair, again, they tried. They tried to use protection, but hey, shit happens. That all being said, they're dealing with it in a really mature way. I like that they decided to do a mega movie marathon because the abortion pill would take 2 days to work, and that they genuinely enjoy each other's company. Again, there's actual chemistry here. But the overall message here is to not rush into sex because it's something you believe you should do. And that to me is a very powerful message. That if you're not ready, that's okay. Whether it be sex or having a child. I wasn't expecting how sex positive the whole movie would be. Now, it's probably because I'm an American and I'm not used to seeing so many positive depictions of contraceptives in a movie or let alone anything at all. But the overall message was mature, grounded, and surprisingly refreshing, which is wild considering this movie has singing in it.
Seriously, why does it smell like caca and wee-whiz in here?
So what are my overall thoughts about Spermageddon? Well, I was pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed the movie. Granted, I definitely preferred the sections involving the humans, Jens and Lisa specifically. But it was an interesting premise to have it split between a sex comedy with these, dumb teens and a road trip movie with sperm. If I have a biggest complaint, I would say it's the amount of, sperm jokes, if you catch my meaning. Though to be fair, it's called Spermageddon, and that's a core part of the appeal of the movie and its marketing. Whatever, I can forgive it. I can see the differences between where the writing put priority on the sperm over the humans too, as the sperm side characters get more development than the other human characters in the cabin. There's a bit of give and take there where you have to make some compromises, so I get it. You other human characters in the cabin, make way. Giga Chad Gizmo's coming through, and he's getting some story. The parallel storytelling did not quite dovetail in the way I wanted it to in the end, but I think they got as close as they reasonably could. Personally, I would have tried to find more ways to incorporate the other cabin friends, and maybe swap the B-line story of the gangsters for more about this character called After Squirt. The dorky sperm with the braces, as he felt underutilized relative to the other characters. His arc was surprisingly interesting, as he's not the most attractive sperm, apparently that's a phrase, but his sense of adventure and fluid sexuality was a cool addition. Yeah, he's down for anything. I actually had someone reach out to me via email stating that the gangster characters were a direct reference to a Scandinavian comedy series called The Olsen Gang, or Olsenbanden. It's really popular in Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, with each country doing their own version using the characters. And looking at them side by side, yeah, I definitely see the resemblance. Overall, the script was strong. And I like the characters, though I wish we could have gotten more time with, the human characters again. But they did a good job running both storylines and emphasized the values of the film, overall. Especially when they go out of your comfort zone. The songs are fun and very goofy, if a little, too gross at times. The E. coli section, again, made my girlfriend queasy. I was laughing, but there's other moments in the film where that bodily humor and, how visceral it is goes off the charts. Kind of reminds me of that one boss, the Great Pooh from Conker's Bad Fur Day with this E. coli guy. Hey, maybe it was a direct reference, who knows? Ultimately, I think this movie shines the most when it comes down to the quality of the core themes they get into. I really appreciate that the message of this film is encouraging a younger audience to be aware of the risk of being sexually active as a teen. That practicing safe sex is extremely important to prevent pregnancies, STDs, all kinds of things. In the US specifically, there seems to be a really conservative degree of just not talking about sex in a direct, non-judgmental way. I went to a Christian high school growing up, and let me tell you, it was a disaster with how many classmates of mine were just in hot water because they had no idea what to do and no one to talk to. Which, really sucks. That's not a good situation. There should be more support than that. Many parents feel awkward and uncomfortable to bring this stuff up. Or teenagers don't feel safe confiding in their parents about it, so they go seek elsewhere to find out. And usually those resources are highly biased, exploitative, or flat out unreliable. Jens is clearly not comfortable talking to his dad about it. And his dad can't be direct with him without using metaphors. That kind of dynamic is probably the case for a lot of Gen Z folks going through puberty. It was bad when I was a kid growing up as a millennial. But I cannot imagine how weird it is for kids nowadays to make heads or tails about this subject. Especially with the internet. My God, I don't envy that. I can't even begin to imagine what this generation and incoming generations know without truly knowing.
We're gonna be talking about We'll be talking about the
Bussy.
Do you think that's funny, butthead?
Poor Jens and Lisa think that talking and behaving like sex stars is normal when, surprise, surprise, it's not. That's not how normal people talk in bed. Unless you're a freak or something. Hey, Gizmo, I'm looking at you. Oh, come on, he's gotta be dirty. Explicit material is not the reality. That's not how most people behave. But scaring kids straight into abstinence is not the right approach either. It's going to be awkward no matter what you do. But communication is everything between giving consent, what you're comfortable with, and having safe sex. God, I sound like a PSA right now, let's talk, hey, let me pull up a chair and sit here at your old friend saberspark. Let's talk about condoms. Someone's gonna clip that. So the third act of this movie is really doing a ton of legwork in a frank but entertaining way, which I really appreciate. The finale song was actually my favorite one in the movie because I love a Broadway-style tap number. But mostly, the message of waiting if you're not ready yet was a really important one to have. One of my favorite aspects of this film is how the teen characters actually have some really decent chemistry. Jens and Lisa still make plenty of mistakes as they're getting to know each other, but fundamentally, they're aware enough to have contraceptives with them. Condoms, spermicide, morning after pills, Lisa is about as prepared as you can get. However, accidents can happen. Just ask my parents. And like many teens, they both rushed into doing something without thinking about the potential long-term consequences. But they're thankfully dealing with it in a really mature way. The US is so prudish when it comes to talking about that kind of stuff, when really, it's nothing to be ashamed about. Especially not with the MPAA having such weird double standards between sex and violence. The worst miscommunications happen when that kind of important information is assumed or brushed aside. And thankfully, they don't do that in this movie. The overall message is to not rush into sex because it's something you believe you should do. Take your time, learn about it. Let your anthropomorphic sperm lead the way, apparently. Jens must have been doing something right to have a Giga Chad sperm like that in his boys, I'm just saying. While Spermageddon can be a lot to stomach with the amount of sex puns and violence included, it is ultimately very sincere and doesn't have the same level of cynicism you would expect from another adult-oriented comedy. I actually laughed at a lot more watching Spermageddon than I did watching Sausage Party. That's for damn sure. And if you're old enough to watch it, I definitely recommend checking it out. Just, maybe don't eat during most parts. Trust me, you'll thank me later, especially during the opening sex ed montage. That was something else.
Og ingen av dem behagelig. Den verste tortur, og så ganger du det med 10.
In conclusion, Spermageddon was surprisingly good and heartfelt. I was expecting a much more crass and immature movie, especially with a title like Spermageddon. But the core themes of the film were sincere and well told. In a lot of ways, they took the high road, and somewhat subverted my expectations. Yes, the movie with the poop-eating character was good. Once more, this film is not for everyone, but I do recommend it for those who want something outside the box, because this film is most certainly that. It's more than just sex jokes, though you'll definitely be getting a big dose of that too. Look, if you take a shot for every sperm joke you hear, you will die of liver failure. But not before feeling a ping of emotion in your heart. That might just be a heart attack, actually. In a day and age where corporations play it extremely safe, where they metaphorically muzzle artists and prefer to repackage or reboot successful franchises, Spermageddon is a